Hey, this is almost beyond parody. Um, Donald Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, is being investigated for voter fraud. And Mark Meadows' wife appears to have incorrectly, illegally, fraudulently filled out voter registrations. You've got to see this. This is just unbelievable. After arguing for 6 months that Democrats were going to cheat and all of these voter registration things, all this different stuff, and then claiming the election was stolen by Joe Biden, Salon is now reporting Mark Meadows under investigation for alleged voter fraud in North Carolina. Macon County DA, a Meadows ally, refers potential prosecution of Trump's ex-chief of staff to the attorney general. This is unbelievable. Meadows, who helped spread Trump's debunked voter fraud claims, may have committed voter fraud himself in 2020. Trump's former top aide and his wife, Debbie, registered to vote in what has been called a dive trailer in a remote rural area. Meadows does not appear to have spent a single night there, according to the report. Local news outlet WRAL later reported that Meadows and his wife voted via absentee ballots in North Carolina in 2020, sparking a state investigation. State Attorney General Josh Stein's office asked the State Bureau of Investigation to investigate alongside the Board of Elections. At the conclusion, we'll review their findings. He seems to have done the thing which they said everybody else on the Democratic side is doing. Meadows listed the Scally Mountain mobile home address in a voter registration field that asks for the residential address where you physically live. Mark and Debbie Meadows sold their prior North Carolina home when Meadows joined the Trump administration. Meadows is also registered to vote in Virginia, where they own a condo. The former owner of the mobile home told WRAL they had rented the property to Meadows' family, but said the former Trump aide never spent a night down there and that Meadows' wife only stayed for a night or two. Then there's a report in the Washington Post about Deborah Meadows. Deborah Meadows appears to have filed 3 false voter forms. Look at this. Look at this. On her one-stop application provided this week by the North Carolina Board of Elections to the fact checker, Deborah Meadows certified she resided in a 14 by 62 foot mountaintop mobile home for at least 30 days, even though she did not live there. At the top of the form is a notice that, quote, fraudulently or falsely completing this form is a class 1 felony. Uh-oh. This form is the latest in a string of revelations concerning the former chief of staff who echoed Trump's claims, false claims of election fraud in 2020. And his wife. The New Yorker first reported that Mark and Deborah Meadows submitted voter registration forms listing their home as a mobile home with a rusted metal roof that sold for $105,000, even though they never lived there. North Carolina officials announced that Meadows is under investigation for potential fraud. Now, this is like the key part here. The fact checker's reporting shows that in 2020, Deborah Meadows signed 3 forms: a voter registration form, an absentee ballot request for her husband, and the one-stop application that warned of legal consequences if falsely completed and signed. She also cast a ballot in a 2020 primary runoff using an address that was no longer valid for voting. Meadows appears to have signed a voter registration form. He did not vote in the primary. Guys, the calls are coming from inside the House. You know, it has been a decade now, at least, of Republicans regularly accusing others of the things they are actually doing. And it's almost like a technique. It's like an investigative technique for us. If we hear from Republicans that Hillary would not be trustworthy with sensitive, private and classified information or email, we should at least explore whether it is they who cannot be trusted. And of course, we find out Jared's using private email for White House business. Ivanka's using private email from for White House business. Trump is spilling secrets to a Russian spy recruiter in the Oval Office. Trump is eating papers, flushing papers 10 to 15 times reportedly. If they're saying that Democrats are doing it, we should at least investigate whether it is actually them that are doing it. When they say, well, we are going to have Democrats do all sorts of voter fraud. Well, we should be really careful that you're going to do the voter fraud and that you're going to spread lies about the election. And it has essentially come down to, listen, we know the election was rigged because we did it. That is where we have fundamentally fallen here. And Meadows should be investigated. His wife should be investigated. And listen, I know that none of us, if you've been paying attention to the two-tier justice system in this country for the last decade, you would be reasonably situated to question whether Mark Meadows will face any consequences regardless of what he did. Even if he did it, even if they've got him dead to rights, it's not super likely he's going to face any real consequences. Meanwhile, there are people who just accidentally voted that they weren't supposed to. They were like on probation, parole, or there were certain situations, often low income people who sometimes end up in prison. So it is, this entire voter fraud thing is not only illuminating because they are the ones doing it, but they accuse everybody else of doing it. But it's also notable because it exposes that two-tier justice system where, despite the people getting caught continuing to be mostly Republicans, the penalties are almost completely absent. It's depressing. I'm with you. But we should understand that if they are repeatedly talking about something, we should very closely look at whether they themselves are the ones doing it.
One of our sponsors is Blinkist, who's been supporting the David Pakman Show longer than any other sponsor. Blinkist is the app that lets you listen to or read an entire nonfiction book in just 15 minutes. Blinkist is the way to absorb those books you can't make time for. Blinkist takes top nonfiction titles, pulls out the book's key takeaways and insights, and gives it to you in the form of a text or audio explainer that you can consume in 15 minutes. With Blinkist, now you actually do have time to learn about all the things you've been wanting to tackle. On the Blinkist app, I just listened to This Is Your Mind on Plants by the great Michael Pollan. Super interesting, the history of caffeine and so many other things. Blinkist has you covered on podcasts too. Blinkist takes long episodes of popular podcasts and distills them into audio you can listen to in 15 minutes. With Blinkist, you can become knowledgeable about so many different things. You can have conversations with people about more topics. Blinkist makes you more well-rounded. Try Blinkist for free and get 25% off a subscription. Go to Blinkist.com/Pakman. The link is down below.